Hello, everyone. Welcome to Loud Alternative Music Podcast, episode number 1. I am your host, Tomye West. This is my co-host, this West. This is my co-host, Codey O'Connor.
That's me.
I'll give you a little bit of background on who we are, just in case you don't know us. As I said, I'm Tomye West. I'm a drummer. I've been in bands since about 2005 and played a butt ton of shows. I basically started a new band just as COVID hit, and this guy next to me.
It's all mirrored.
Yeah, it is. It's mirrored, you know. This guy next to me, he's the singer in my band. His name's Codey O'Connor. So, is there anything you want to tell the people that they might not know about you, or give some background?
I'm from Queensland originally. I moved down a few years ago. I have a background in music and stuff. I've ran desks and done backline and stuff for shows and stuff before. And I was like, screw it, I'll try being in a band again. So yeah, I have a bit of a background in music, but we'll see how it goes, hey?
Yeah, well, for everyone tuning in, this is obviously our first episode, so apologies if it's a bit rusty, I guess. We'll get over it, and we'll move forward together.
We'll figure it out together, exactly,
and work it out. So how you been anyway, man? What have you been up to?
Honestly, lately, I've been playing a lot of PlayStation, to be honest.
What
games? I don't really play any fun games. I've pretty much just been playing sport games, and I've been playing a bit of Guitar Hero as well.
Gotta play something with a bit of substance, bro.
Yeah, well.
But no, that sounds good. That sounds good.
At least I'm not playing GTA 5.
For everyone watching, our guitarist is playing GTA 5, and he's part of the problem. He's part of the problem. No. We need to solve this. We need GTA 6, man, and we're not going to get it while people show that game support. So you know what I'm going to do? Personally, go around and start bombing consoles.
As good of a game as GTA 5 is, I feel like we're ready for GTA 6. I remember playing this game on my Xbox 360, one of the fat white ones, and that's
where I played it too.
It's a good game, but you're right. Everyone needs to stop playing the online version, so the Rockstar are compelled to make number 6 because they're still
rating.
I can't believe how it's still one of the most best-selling games. Sort of like Skyrim as well.
I just saw MPD numbers just then, and it was it's number 1 for the month on PlayStation again.
Really? In August 2021, whatever it is. It's ridiculous.
Just a blanket statement. If anyone out there is playing GTA 5 currently, stop. But I've been doing not much myself, man. Just playing games as well. Been playing a bit of Call of Duty online again, which I haven't done for years. Been diving back into Ghost of Tsushima because I kind of left that. I kind of couldn't be bothered with it when it came out. I played it. The Last of Us Part 2 was, I can't believe that was before or after. One of them, they were released pretty close to each other anyway, and one of them consumed me more than the other. Ghost of Tsushima I've gotten back into, and I'm looking forward to the expansion pack they put on. But and you watched anything lately, or been listening to anything special lately?
It's been hard to, I guess, man. Like there really hasn't been a whole lot on with COVID and stuff like that, and shows always being pushed back and whatnot. I guess I've just been watching older shows, I guess, because there's nothing else on. In my downtime at home, I've been putting on just old concerts to have on in the background. Not even just like heavy stuff. Just like I was playing a John Mayer DVD the other day. I listened to Justin Timberlake whilst I was getting drunk and danced around. That was fun. But I guess I'm just trying to keep active when we're still not able to do stuff. So
yeah, exactly. It's been hard, man, because for the listeners at home, we're currently, as I said, we've started a band together, and it's been really hard because every time we plan something, it kind of just gets pushed back. But we are making progress, and we do believe we have a solid kind of launch window period, I guess, now for 2022. So, but yeah, more on that in the future, I guess, when we've got more to talk about it. Yeah, today's really cool because this isn't how we're going to usually do the podcast for everyone. We've done this intro separately to the rest of the podcast because due to it being our first episode, the intro last time was a bit rough. Exactly. So we're redoing it, and it's going to cut back into an old part of the podcast, not an old part, but the real part of the podcast.
Old for us. It'll be just as new for you guys.
So it'll kick into the rest of the podcast. But normally we're going to try and do the intro through the proper podcast and not have to make a separate intro. But because it's first episode, I'm going to make
an exception to the rule.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, this episode is really cool because we're joined by Ben Rogers, the guitarist of the band The Last Martyr, who are up and coming, I guess, but they've already upped and they're coming. You know what I mean? So they're really good. They're really decent. I've known Ben a long time. I went to high school with him as well. And yeah, I'm really happy that he came and joined us on the podcast. How do you think the conversation went, man?
It was really cool. It was cool for me coming from a different state, not really knowing many people down here, being able to just chat and, you know, get along and have a rapport and stuff like that. So it was really sick having him on. It was a good experience. And it was sort of like, I don't know, maybe a bit humbling and validating for me that I'm sort of not out of place in doing what I'm doing and what I want to do. So it was cool to feel involved in that respect, I guess.
Yeah, cool. No, that's cool, man. Yeah, like we're going to try and get a guest on for every mainline episode of this podcast. When we can't get a guest on for a couple of weeks, we still want to release an episode because we don't want to start something and then kind of just like not update regularly so that we don't get, you know, a fan base, I guess. We want you to enjoy it. We want you to come and help us out. We want you to listen to it, and we want you to, enjoy the experience, basically. You know? Give us
ideas on how to make it better as well.
Yeah, exactly. Sound off, comment when you're watching and tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you maybe like to see. But I plan on, when we can't get a guest, doing a special episode when we can't get a guest, and it'll be based around like a concept of like, you know, a certain band's worst albums to best ranked, or like our favorite albums of all time ranked, or like bands, maybe, you know, a podcast on one band for one thing, like a special, you know, but that's going to be what we're going to do in the weeks we can't get a guest. Yeah. We just think it's good to remain, you know, going and whatever. So
heaps of content. If things are a bit slow, I'm sure we've got a bunch of stories and stuff if people would like to listen. So yeah, we'll be able to figure something out.
And if you don't want to watch the whole podcast in one go, you're lucky because I'm going to be breaking it up section by section over the week. So it'll be released as a full episode to begin with. And then from then on, it'll get topics or parts broken out and put into a separate thing. And you can watch just clips from the podcast itself. You don't have to sit here and watch the entire thing.
That's a good idea, man. I didn't know you were going to do that. That's a cool idea.
Yeah, I just thought about it, man. So like, yeah, I thought about it this morning. I was like, that's what we should do because, you know, we do eventually get to the news in this episode, by the way. It's towards the end. We're going to try and actually do that the opposite from now on, which is news first, rest later. But we didn't have much time to get news prepared. So it wasn't like dedicated news section where it was important news. It was just us shit talking about a couple of things, including like Fred Durst at Lolapalooza and the sad story of Jordison passing away. But we covered those things, and we plan on being a bit more robust with our news in the future. So please make sure you tune in, and yeah, you'll get your music news when I start getting a bit more organised.
And when shit happens, let us know so we can talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Sound off if you find something that you want to hear about, and we'll talk about it if we think it's worthy. And you know what, we're pretty lenient with what's worthy these days. So,
dude, I'll talk about anything. I don't care.
Exactly.
I want to talk your ear off about NBA basketball summer league crap, but that's not the direction we're going in. So.
No, definitely. You know, this is a music podcast. This is a sport podcast, mate. get it right.
No,
But
everyone needs to know that I love my sport.
of course, man, and that's good, man. And it's good to love something like that, man.
Southeast Melbourne Phoenix repping right here.
I don't
real
like
ones
sport.
know.
I don't much like sport, bro, but like, you know, I know the passion you have for it is the passion that I have for whatever, you know, movies, games, pop culture. By the way, I watched Suicide Squad. You watched a bit of it with me. It's a great movie. The Suicide Squad, sorry, James Gunn's take on it. It's a lot better than the trash pile that was Suicide Squad in 2016 with Cholo Joker, which I couldn't handle. But yeah, like I loved it, man. It was so good, and King Shark stole the movie, in my opinion. So yeah, it was a great movie.
Yeah, I remember those parts that he was in. They were pretty funny.
Yeah, they were good, man. They were good, and I love how it's Sylvester Stallone. So if you haven't watched it, go check it out, because even if you're not into comic book movies, I suggest highly watching this, because it is just a fun time, you know? It's just a really, really good time. Anyways, without further ado, we're going to get into my headphones. We're going to get into the interview. Well, I should actually also mention, by the way, that this podcast will be available audio-wise on SoundCloud and on YouTube. So no matter how you want to consume it, you can consume it. And we hope to expand, platforms as we go along, when we can, get it all uploaded at the same time. But we just didn't have we weren't prepared enough this time. We just went for it. It's a bit off the cuff, this interview, so we really hope you enjoy it. But without further ado, here's Ben Rogers from the band The Last Martyr. Enjoy. So, yeah. Ben, how you going, bro?
Hey. Yeah, good, guys. How you doing?
Good, man. Not too bad, man. Yeah, you been up to much, bro?
Nah, just working away, just doing what I can while we're all stuck in lockdown. What are we? Yeah. Lockdown 6.
Lockdown number 6. I'm hating it, bro. I'm hating it.
It's like it sucks not being able to play shows and stuff like that. But if you utilize the time right, I guess it's it could be a cool opportunity. Not that I guess you and I have, Tom, really done much stuff up until recently, but I can imagine it would have been tough going from touring and stuff like that, going to lockdown and things like that, and trying to keep things moving in the wake of everything. How have you guys managed to do that?
Oh, that's pretty interesting. I mean, if we go right back to the first wave, so to speak, we when we went into that first lockdown, we actually had a video shoot planned for Hindsight, and that was for March or February, can't remember, last year. And then when things started to go a bit pear-shaped and we knew we were going to be in and out of these lockdowns for a while, and kept trying to reschedule this video, and we were initially going to release the track in April last year. Mm-hmm. And by the time April sort of rolled around, that's when we went into that full, the first,
the huge one, the 3-month long one,
Nah, this was the first, where they're 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and
gotcha. Yep.
Turned into 3 or 4 weeks or whatever it was. But we ended up thinking, okay, cool, we'll push back the release, and then it was going to be in June. We had a show lined up for a release then, and then that sort of fell apart with the lockdown again. And I mean, we basically took that opportunity to really take a good look at the whole band, basically, just as a whole.
For sure.
We have a member in the band that we hadn't had on board for that long, so we'd for about 6 months or so, and we were basically thought, cool, where are we going to take this? And he sort of really took the reins on, especially with the way that we started to go with our online content in terms of image and the way we look. And it was as bad as it was. There was a lot of things that came out of it for us. We actually recorded 4 tracks during that lockdown. And
that's cool.
That was between lockdowns, I should say. So when at the start of the year in February, we recorded I think it was 1 track.
Yeah.
And we ended up going back in, I think it was in April or May.
Is that
whenever it was?
Is that stuff that you guys have released, or are you holding on to it to sort of tour with it after COVID?
Well, we've been holding on to it, so
absolutely, as you would.
We're really happy with it. So we've got a track coming out on the 20th of this month, and the pre-saves and all that are all ready to go as well. So, pre-save it on your favorite platform.
Yeah, dude, send me the link. I'll make sure to do that.
Yeah, cheers. Thanks, man. We'll do. So, during that time, we basically reevaluated everything. We really sat down. We listened to our first release, our EP, and we were like, "Oh, cool. What direction do we really want to take this in?" And we really wanted to do something that was fresh and sort of try and stand out a bit more. And yeah, these songs that we've got coming out really are what we sort of envisioned at the time, and we basically just tried to more or less reinvent ourselves. We went through a full rebrand.
With your writing process, like when you write, do you guys like write like say if there's a part that you're not digging in the song, how do you like find a middle ground, or do you just like try to let everyone have a piece in their songs that they all like want, like they all like they want personally, and you just have to kind of be like accepting of that part? Like how do you do that? Because that's something I find hard to do with a lot of our stuff, so
that's an interesting question. So when we write music, it's usually in front of a computer. Like we'll start with some riffs and kind of build on it from there. And at the moment, which I'm sure is what's happening with a lot of people, it's getting sent back and forward, and just ideas and things like that. When we were recording and writing for
my high school band was like that, purely because my parents hardly ever let us jam in my garage, so I had to just write stuff and send it back and forth, and like we'd meet up like maybe once every month or two, and then just hope that like when we played shows we'd listen to it enough on the computer to know how the song was going to go without actually doing it.
Fair enough too. Like I know how hard it can be, but when we were writing that material, it was one of those things where we actually, like, even for Hindsight, we recorded Hindsight at the end of 2019, and when we wrote that song, that was largely written by Ricky, our bass player. We went into the studio with 4 songs, I think. Like, we demoed 4 songs, and what we came out with was with Hindsight. And it was kind of one of those things where there was a lot of things that changed in the studio. So when we got back to writing more material, we sort of took that on board, that things were inevitably going to change in terms of the structure and in terms of the riffs that we used, or the drumming parts, or the vocal parts. So when we did go into like pre-production, we were very aware that there's going to be changes, whether it was little changes or big changes. And that was purely when we got into the studio. We came in and sort of gone, here's what we've got, here's our, where do we want to go? What do we think's the best to go with? Cool, we're going to go with this one. And it was like pulling it apart and gluing it back together just to try different things and really hone in on that track. And so we worked with Chris Alec from Wind Waker, and going into the studio with him, it really put a different spin on just certain things that we were hearing, and the suggestions that we had come through in terms of some of the mix as well. Where it's those little things, those 1%ers that just made a massive difference and really kind of get things over the line. So I can't really praise Chris enough. He is an absolute legend, and I would be surprised if we didn't work with him again in the future, kind of thing. Like he's a really down to earth dude. He really knows his music back to front. He's and a great producer.
Yeah, nice. Because yeah, like we're trying really hard to bring in elements to our band, obviously, and yeah, one of the things I'm trying to push hard for is like the really hip hoppy rap sort of stuff. I'm not going for Aussie hip hop because that's just not my thing personally. I'm trying to go for the more Americanized, that sort of Los Angeles sound you would find, West Coast rap. But like, I find it hard because I know that the band is definitely open to those ideas, but I don't know how far in they would like to go to that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to find a balance, and that's why I'm kind of asked you that question basically. So
No, for sure, and I think that's absolutely fair enough too, because like I've heard it been in bands in the past in the past before as well, where people have said, "Oh, I'm open to this and I'm open to this," and then when we actually would have tried it, it was like, I'm not open to this, sort of thing. But yeah, I think as well though, it's one of those things that you don't know unless you give it a shot. And I think as well, it's more, sometimes you got to give it more than one shot, if that makes sense. Like there's gonna be a lot of trial and error, and if you're open to something,
for sure, and
try
like
it a few times.
That's like, I guess my input would be like trial and error is just the process of refining what you want to do, I guess. You know what I mean? Like you figure out what works for you, figure out what doesn't work for you, and like yeah, it's good to get feedback on anything you do, whether it's good or bad, because you can choose what to do with it,
Yeah, I think that's the thing with writing as well. Like when we're writing, it's sort of like it's been a progression. It hasn't been like straight off the bat we've written these songs and everything's clicked. It's over time we've figured out what is our writing style. Who when someone brings something to the table, who then comes in and goes, oh cool, where do we take it from here, and demo their extra parts or additional areas to the track. There used to be a point in time where we were all in the room and we were all writing together, and we just found that was really, we got to a point and it was like, that's really inefficient and we don't really work well that way. So, there'd be a couple of us instead of 4 of us in a room, and then every now and then, or we'd bring, Vinny in, our drummer, to come in, and he'd be like, yeah, sick, let's actually, what about the drums here? Just to change the rhythm of this section to really pump it up, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And so that's what it was, like the trial and error thing, and even now it's a forever learning thing, because we're always sort of growing and changing. And I think as well, when we've all got very different musical backgrounds, so it's we have similarities and a lot of overlapping, but we've all had sort of like our different stages, I guess, as well, of what we've loved and what we've played and what we've written.
Absolutely.
And like when you're writing as well, like, or say when you're recording, I should say, when you're recording, do you already have like plans for what your next thing is going to be, basically, or do you just take it one release at a time?
That's interesting, because what we had originally planned was through 2020. At the start of the year, or even at the end of 2019, we had planned to release so many, like I think it was 3 or 4 singles over the year. That was the aim, and we sort of started. That's when we started to break things down. What do we need to do to achieve that goal, basically? And when we got into the studio, it wasn't more of this is the song we're going to do next, but it was kind of in the back of your head of, oh, cool, well, we're going to have another song. It's going to come out, roughly however many months later. Are we going to do a video? All those sorts of questions. But when we actually took that time and really hit the brakes, because we had to, basically, because everyone had to, when we had going through it, all of those lockdown periods, we were able to kind of, again, it was just that same thing. We sort of reevaluated what we were going to do. Our whole plan went out the window, and we actually had recorded everything, and we were like, oh, why don't we just release it all as an EP? You know, we're basically with everything we're about to release. It's quite fresh for us. Like it's the four of us as a whole for the first time. So this is like the statement that we want to make. So we still want to release singles. Singles is where we're focusing at the moment. But yeah, like that's sort of where we went with it.
I really don't remember too much about you from high school. Like I do, yeah. Like I don't remember much about anyone, yeah. Because like over the past, like I don't know, before I got like clean, I was like 15 years like hectic on drugs. So I haven't got a very memory about much, But like I do remember seeing you at school. I could still remember exactly how you look. I remember talking to you, but I couldn't remember anything much about like what you were much into and shit at that time. Like, so like what was like the music and like your sort of like, where would you place yourself in like that era? We're talking
In
like,
that era.
early 2000s, so.
Yeah. Well, I was listening to, I guess the last few years of high school, like were where I really developed my music taste, and I was listening to a lot of Limp Bizkit, Korn, Metallica, Slipknot, Mudvayne, and Papa Roach. They were like my big three. And yeah, at the end of high school. And the other band that I absolutely would smash was Incubus. We used to cover so many Incubus songs.
Actually, I think I remember you liking Incubus.
Yeah,
that's probably one memory I do have, actually.
Incubus and the Used, like that's where it was at.
Yeah, man.
When that first Used record dropped, it was game changer.
When that first Used record dropped, I got shown it by Matt Miller. You know Matt Miller, obviously.
Yeah. We played in the band together for a while.
And when he first showed me it, I was like, this sucks, man. But at that time, I was into bands. Like I was buying like Cradle of Filth albums at the time and shit like that. Like I was a mixed bag,
Did you like Trivium? Were they a thing back then? Because like I'm a little later from you guys.
Nah, see, Trivium were like sort of like I'd say they were like 2008-ish, 9-ish when they started coming in.
For sure,
maybe around that area. I don't know. Maybe they could be earlier.
The first time I saw Trivium, I saw Trivium play in, I think it was Big Day Out in like 2006.
Oh yeah.
I was absolutely frothing.
So for perspective, I was 11. I was 11 years old then. For perspective.
Yeah, dude. He was 8 when the first Used album came out, bro.
95, baby. That's what's up.
Wow, that makes me feel old.
Oh no shit, man. Like it's so weird in the age difference with our band, because like we have like the youngest guy just turned 21, then 26. We got Ash, who's 20.
She's also 26 or 27.
26. We got a new member, and I don't know much about him, to be honest, because of lockdown. We haven't had a chance to really mingle that much and stuff. So he could be like 75 for all I know. But
dude, he's looking good for 75.
Just as good as Fred Durst is looking behind you, man.
Absolutely.
But yeah, anyways, I
I
got shown the Used by Matt in, I'd say 2004. Like the album dropped like I think 2003. So 2004 was when it kind of hit my radar. And the first song I heard, actually no, this is weird because the first time I heard him was on the Osbournes. Do you remember when Kelly Osbourne was dating Bert from the Used? And
I do remember that.
They did a special where her and Jack did like a music, like their favorite music videos episode, you know what I mean? And she was going out with Bert at the time and aired Boxer Sharp Objects on MTV. And I was like, this is shit and can't stand that screaming. What are you doing? I was like, either be heavy or be soft. Make my mind up, you know what I mean? Because I just didn't get it. I was like, Slipknot, Cradle of Filth down at CKY and him. And like, I was just like, that's sort, that was my version of even Biscuit, you know what I mean? And then I heard Buried Myself Alive. And I don't remember how I heard that song, but I heard it and I was like, this song's great. And Then I went back and listened to Box of Sharp Objects, and for some reason, going back the second time, I was like, this is sick. I don't know what was wrong with me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And from then on, I was obsessed, dude. I remember calling around every JB Hi-Fi in the area for when In Love and Death got released to go buy it.
Yeah.
And I remember them
wow.
putting up the minute preview or Take It Away on actual theused.net or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and I was like listening to that minute over and over and over and over. It could have even been less than a minute, man. But yeah, the Used were where it was at, man.